I'm Jackie Lohman. This is Saint, my service dog, who actually does more than lie on my lap often. But we're in a different situation today and a different place, and then we had the challenge of getting into a different room and everything, and so she's like, oh, I think that Mummy maybe is a little stressed, so I better get up on her lap and take care of her. And besides, it's more comfortable on someone's lap than lying on the floor. So. But she does have her gear on, and yeah, okay. So thank you very much for being with us. Now, let's see. Okay. So some of these quotes that are up here are some of the quotes that we have on our website. And one of the things that we talk about a lot is that nothing is stronger than the human spirit. And so I wanted to give you a little background about Beyond Limits, how we came to be an organization, and got ready and did some climbing and are doing a free hike next year. So, and I'm really influenced by my students in this. I'm a teacher. I teach at the University of Presque Isle. Had Beth's son in some classes. And so I'm really influenced by some of the things that they suggest. And so one of the things they suggested was, they call me Dr. J, which is my trail name. And they said, you got to tell people a little bit about your background. And so let me give you a little bit. So obviously I'm in a wheelchair, and I have a number of physical challenges that I was born with. I have spina bifida and scoliosis and a number of things. So I wasn't this great athlete and had a tragic thing happen to me. It's something that I've dealt with all my life. But as a kid, I wasn't diagnosed with these things. I was awkward. I could walk a little bit. People didn't know what was wrong. And so I heard a lot of can't growing up. A lot of, you can't do this, you can't do that. You can't go to college. You can't hold a job. Those can'ts. And when you're a kid, you believe them, I think, because people are big and strong and adults and they know things. Fortunately for me, I had my parents, particularly my dad. And my dad always said, you can do whatever you said you wanted to. But when you're a kid, it's tough, because you're in the resource room and you want to be like other people, and you come home and you're crying and you want to be like other folks. And my dad always said, you're never going to be like other people, but that's okay. So I did go to college, and I did get a job. And I learned that the can'ts that hold us back are here. Because the thing that keeps you from doing things isn't that your legs don't, or something else doesn't work. It's that it becomes ingrained in your mind and you're afraid to try. So became a teacher, and I love teaching. It's just like the best job in the world, as far as I'm concerned. And I didn't think about doing anything physical. So again, I wasn't one of these people who was this wonderful athlete when I was younger. Because when I was younger, I couldn't do anything athletic. You know, I couldn't run around the football field and those sorts of things. And so, welcome. And so, I became a teacher, and I was doing okay. And life was good. And I'm really stubborn. I should mention that. And so, as an academic, I had to travel, I had to do things. And in October of 2012, so almost exactly 4 years ago, I started feeling not well, which is unusual for me, because although I have all these physical challenges, my students would say I'm disgustingly healthy. We never miss class because I'm sick, much to their chagrin. But I started feeling really bad, and particularly after I would eat, and then I would get this terrible heartburn. And so I thought, well, I must be allergic to whatever I'm eating. And so I would eat something, and it would agree with me, and so I thought, and so I would think up, oh, I must be allergic to this now. And so I got to a point where I was kind of living on saltines and ginger ale. And any sane person would think, oh, I got something wrong with me. But, you know, as somebody who's gotten through a lot of things, I thought, oh, it's okay. And so I was supposed to go to a conference. I was supposed to go to a conference in Hawaii. And I really wanted to go to this conference in Hawaii. And, but I was having a lot of challenges. And the week before I was going to go, I went home and I couldn't sleep and I couldn't get rid of this pain. Went to the emergency room, they did an EKG, and they said, it's not a heart attack, and no, it's not my heart. And I was there for about 5 hours, and they sent me home with my hand. And they said, you'll be okay. And so, all right. And I got into the week, and it was Thursday, and we were supposed to go to Hawaii Tuesday. All excited. And Thursday, I went to a session that my students were doing. They were doing focus groups. And it was October, and I'm always cold. Lots of times people with paraplegia or quadriplegia, you don't regulate your temperature the same as other people. And so it's in this session that my students were doing, and they're all bundled up, and I was so hot. And I was sweating. So I took off my jacket and took off my sweater, and then it was a little much of what I could take off. And I got through the focus groups, and the pain was really, really bad. But I didn't want to go back to the emergency room because I'd been on Monday, and they said, you're fine. So I went home, and my mom was still alive. And my mom said, you okay? You don't look very well. And I said, oh, I'm fine, but can you feed the dog? I know the dog and sing. And so can you feed the dog? I'm just going to go up and lie down on my bed and just till I feel better. So she did, and I have a vertical lift in my house. So I went upstairs, and I lay down on the bed, and the pain was so bad. And every time I tried to get up, the pain would make me faint. And so the reason I'm alive is because of Saint, because she kept reviving me. I don't know if you've ever been semi-conscious, but when you're kind of half with it and half not, and you're saying, yeah, I'm okay, I'm okay. But I wasn't okay, and she knew it. And so she kept licking me and dropping things on my head, which sounds kind of funny, but it was effective, until morning. The morning came, and I called my friend, because my mom was downstairs, and she was very deaf, and she couldn't use the vertical lift, and I thought, I needed somebody to put the dogs out. So I called my friend. My friend came out, and she said, yes, white is the proverbial sheet. No. We went to the hospital. While I was talking to the meeting people, I fainted again. So they took lab work, and they took blood work, as well as an EKG. And I don't know much about this stuff, but your hemoglobin is supposed to be like 12. My hemoglobin was like 5. And they said, you're hemorrhaging. You're hemorrhaging sites. We have to admit you. And I said, as long as I get out to go to this conference, I was very practical. And they said, well, let's find out about the bleeding and everything. So they admitted me on a Friday. And did some tests, and then on Saturday, they did the scan thing where you have to drink the contrast, which is horrible if you've ever had it. And I hadn't eaten anything for about a week now, and so, but I drank the stuff, and they did the scan, and they took me back, and I was in ICU. And I had all these things hooked up to me. And I started feeling really sick. And I thought, geez, I should call somebody. But I was too weak. And then all the alarms started going off. And I started vomiting. And the people came running in. And I was bleeding. I was vomiting blood, and I was bleeding out of every orifice. And if you've ever seen movies or TV where somebody is dying, and the light gets really bright, it's true, because it didn't hurt, because I was so out of it. And I was watching the people, and they were working on me like crazy. And they were calling out my blood pressure, and it's dropping. And they didn't call my mom. I had said when I went in, don't call my mom, because she wasn't Steno, but so they called my sister, who was in Connecticut. I'm in Northern Maine, by this way. And they said, we need to get her out of here because we can't keep her alive. And she said, well, fly her to Boston. I said, actually, that's right. So they got me on the plane, and they flew me to Bangor, which is the nearest big, relatively speaking, big place. And when they put me on the plane, they didn't think that I would get off the plane alive. But while I was kind of in this middle of whether, some people say, you die and you come back, or you're between life and death. I heard a voice, and afterwards people said, well, what was the voice? And it was, it sounded like a male voice. Maybe it was my dad, who'd been dead for decades. But this voice said, it's not time. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to be okay. I'm going to come back. And so I knew I was going to get off the plane alive, but nobody else did. But the thing about the blood loss, they had to transfuse me. They gave me 12 pints of blood altogether. I think you've got like 10 in your body. So, and so the shock of the blood loss, I lost my ability to move and my ability to speak. And the moving wasn't that bad. I mean, it wasn't great, but I was in a wheelchair before this happened, and so I just needed to learn how to use my upper body again. But being unable to speak was terrible because I'm a professor of communication. So my whole life is talking. And so, and it was fascinating because people are talking to you, and if you can't speak, people think that you're not following what they're saying. And so people can say these really, I mean, kind of horrible things. But they're talking about me saying, I think she's going to die. You know, and I'm inside saying, no, I'm going to be okay. And so I had to go through physical rehab, a long stretch of, and learning how to move again was very quick when it was speaking. But it took me months to regain my ability to speak. And after I got to where I could put simple sentences together, people said, oh, you can go home now. And I said, no, I can't. Because I had a doctorate in communication. So while I was recovering, I did a lot of thinking. And what do I want to do? And I have a second chance. And just going back and teaching isn't enough. I need to do something more than that. Because all my adult life as a teacher, I've been telling people, my students, who don't have physical challenges, most of them, but they have cognitive or emotional or whatever. And I'm always telling them, you can do it. You can do anything. So I thought, well, it's time to put my money where my mouth is. And so we started Saint and I. And Saint had a really kind of cushy life up until this, because activity for us was going from the car to the building and teach. And then I decided, well, I need to get stronger. And so we went whitewater rafting, and I learned to ski. And people have asked me, did I get better at skiing? There's only one way to go. You know, I mean, I'm in a sit ski, if you've ever seen a sit ski. And the first time I got in a sit ski, and people stepped back and they said, okay. And they said, do a crunch. And I said, what's a crunch? I didn't know what a crunch was. And so we got better. But the goal was to do something as a group. And so I'm a Mainer. And so like Mount Katahdin, we just call it Katahdin, is like a member of my family. And so I wanted to do this mountain with a group of people. And so that's what we decided to do. And so it's really interesting if you want to do something that's different. Because a lot of people, they don't just think it's crazy, but sometimes they push back kind of hard. Yeah, they kind of like, oh my gosh, this is stupid, and put people at risk. And so, and we were planning to do it right after the gentleman that broke the speed record in 2015, and there's a lot of controversy about that and kind of breaking the rules and everything. So we had to assure the people at Baxter State that we were going to do this the right way, leave no trace, do it as a team, not exceed the limit, be very respectful of people's experiences. And so we got a group of people together, and we had a total of 16 people, counting me. St. Vincent County is a person. But we had 15 other people, 12 in our group, and we had 4 people at another campsite. And we chose a week, July of 2015, because we wanted to do it in good weather if we could. So we chose a week, and we figured we'd do 3 good days. Anybody in here climbed Katahdin? Okay. We went up. I don't know, and so did you do it as part of like a through hike? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you probably didn't go on the trail that we did. We went up Saddle. Yeah, so Saddle is the easy trail. Okay. And so I'm always a little apologetic. I feel kind of awkward even talking about this because we have all these people that are these amazing people, and here I am. You know. But as people who've done Katahdin will kind of there's really no easy trail. And so we figured Saddle would be the easiest, and we figured we would need 3 days. 1 day to hike into Chimney Pond, where we stayed, and then 1 day to ascend and descend, and then the 3rd day to hike out. And as you'll see, I've got a video of this. You'll see that everybody else in this group is amazingly fit, and they had all climbed Katahdin many times. And they could easily do it, hike in, go to the top and down, and hike out before lunchtime. I mean, these are just super people. But they had to do it at a different pace because they're carrying somebody. And so you see, they literally, I was on their backs, and they got me in and got me, because it was so rough. When we do the AT next year, a lot of it is real charitable if it's a hiking wheelchair, but not Katahdin. It wasn't going to happen. And so 2 weeks before we were set to goal, the carriers, called the Sherpas, they did a practice hike on the side. And they came back and they said, Jackie, I don't know how to tell you, but we can't do that. It's impossible. And we wanted it to be safe. We wanted nobody to get hurt. And they said, what do you think? And I said, well, let's go into Chimney Pond, and then let's see what we can do. And we can do another, we can do another climb. We can do a lesser peak. And so the first day going into Chimney Pond from the Roaring Brook parking lot, we thought, well, maybe if we get there by late afternoon. And it went so much better than we thought it would. And so they said, well, let's try to summit. We didn't go across next to anything like that. And we had a drop-dead turnaround of noon. And we started between 7:30 and 8. And we took a long break, and we were on the top of 10:30. So if I can get this to work. This is about 10 minutes. And you see us hiking in, you'll see the ascent, and more importantly, the descent, because you see the people, how they did this. I knew it was amazing when I was on them, but when I saw the video, okay, I'm not doing it. There's a mouse, a regular mouse. So what we need to do is go to the middle. Yeah.
Like this keyboard.
Right, all I want is to press the little arrow that's going to make this go. And press right now, it's hiding.
Where am I going?
Next. No, you want to go a little bit about anything like that. So just click, yeah, and then you want to click on that arrow. Yeah. Okay, so thank you. And so this is the place where we listen to. So this is Roaring Brook parking lot. And we've got this little contraption. How can we turn the lights out?
Yes.
So this thing, my friend, Al Levesque, kind of redesigned this. It's called a piggy backpack, so it's a backpack that so this is the easy part. This is just going into Chimney Pond. So boulders, but nothing too bad. One of the problems that we have with the piggy backpack is it's unstable. So we have a new piece of equipment for next year that will be used to.
Is that equipment commercially available, or was it custom made?
There is nothing out there commercially available. So one of the goals of our hiking is to develop something like this, and then also a hiking wheelchair. There's hiking wheelchairs on the market, but none that have shock absorbers or independent rear suspension. And so we really want to develop things for any kind of search and rescue, or just people that would like to get out and have this experience. So there's a lot of goals for doing things.
you don't mind me asking, what is the weight? What's he carrying?
So the carrier is a few pounds, and I'm probably a little less than 100 pounds. And so one of the things that I learned, because I had never hiked, is that it's not your upper body, it's your legs. And so you can see that most of these people, they look like nice fit people, but they're, I've officially become a dirty old woman, because now I check out people's legs. I forget what they look like. And you can see the switching in. They got really quick at this, and so they got to where they could swap out in less than a minute, even when we were going up the saddle, sliding back down. So the technique, and so we learned that 6 people were a great number, because when they needed to switch, one person would step out, the other person would step in, and we had people supporting my weight. And then they'd get it on, and they would make their adjustments, because you can see people are different sizes for sure.
And this was in July, you're saying?
It was in July, yep. We were pretty lucky with the weather, but you can see, I mean, this is PJ. I didn't know most of these people before we started, and we did some training beforehand. But the day we went down, and PJ said, I have a do-rag, and it's like, well, great, what's a do-rag? I mean, I learned all kinds of things. It was hard. And so you can see that lots and lots of water. And so the only way that this works is if you're the person being carried, you're leaning forward and you're hugging people the whole time. Because otherwise you're going against their center of gravity. And these are our porters, because they carried our stuff in for us. And we weren't backpacking, we were at base camp. This is Chimney Pond, and we're all like, yeah, great. And it's incredibly beautiful. So lovely. Alpine Lake, and then it's like, and that's where we're going to go tomorrow. And at this point, I didn't know we were going to even try, but the guys got together and they said, let's try it. Let's see if we can do it. And so this is the bunkhouse, and so the guys stayed in the bunkhouse, and the women were in the lean-to.
How many hours did it take to get to that point, to the pond?
To the pond, it took probably about 3. And then we thought it probably would take about 6. So it was much faster than, and they just went. And so the 2 ladies that were with us, Amanda and Vanessa, who had saved, we left them in the dusk because they got in a rhythm and they just went. And so as you're going through the trees, it's kind of rough, but it's not bad. It's when you get above the tree line, you get to the sound slide, and that was the getting more and more challenging.
Many of us hike with poles, but none of your Sherpas are
They
using poles?
made a decision to not use poles because they were afraid of falling and impaling me with a pole. And so what some of them do, you see, if they're, when it was really rough, that they use their hands for balance, but if they were going along something that was more flat, they would put their hands and arms around my legs. This is Ethan, so he was the youngest. So people range in age from 22 to 45 in terms of the Sherpas. He was our climber, and so they figured that we would try to do like a 10-minute stint so that people would rotate out every hour. And sometimes if it was really, really tough, people would do less than 10 minutes, and sometimes if they felt good, they would do more. And so this is when we took our rest break, because I'm facing in, you're facing to the mountain, and you don't know how beautiful it is. So we took a long rest break, and it was just, wow, this is so great. And then I'm looking down at this little speck of Chimney Pond, and now worked so well as a unit. Lots of times they didn't even need to talk. They just knew. They were always there for one another.
Did they know each other before the hijacking?
No, they didn't. Some people knew one or two other people, but nobody knew everybody. And so now we're at the tableland, so we still got a mile to go. But going up the slide, everyone's like, okay, we're going to do this now. We're gonna make it. And you can see I'm hugging Ethan and saying thank you. And then the guy with the camera, there's a show in Maine called Bill Green's Maine, and he does all kinds of outdoor stuff. And so they came along and they wanted to film it. And he said, and there we are. So, and I'm crying. But I wasn't the only one. A lot of the guys were crying too, because we didn't do it to be the first group with somebody with paraplegia, but we were the first. And there's been so much no, and so much can't. And the view was incredible. And I felt so privileged because I thought, I'm probably the first person, other than a little child, who can't walk to see this view. But we couldn't exult in it because we had to go back down. Which of course everybody's like, yeah. But we figured that the hardest part would be going back down. Because people are tired and they're going to have to face into the slide to go, and they're not going to be able to see where to put their feet. So, we were happy, but we were a little apprehensive. And, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Did anyone trip at any time?
The only thing that happened was, and it was kind of funny, the biggest guy, Rod, the bulkiest guy that's got on the denim cutoffs, I gouged my knee going up and coming down. Both times I was on Rod, and it was the same rock. And so I had this really bloody knee, and that's the only thing that happened. So they had me wear this helmet, and you can see this is and really the helmet, because they said, oh, if we drop you, and I said, if you drop me, you're going to kill me. And that's how that happens. Because if you just permanently injure my upper body, I might as well be dead, because there's my independence. And so, but it was really handy because of all the branches, because I'm up higher than everybody else. And so we got down here, and so we're back in the tree line, and I was so embarrassed to tell people, but I got dehydrated because I wasn't drinking enough, because I didn't realize I was sweating because I'm absorbing these people's heat. So they went back to camp and got saint because I got really like, so that's our first. So thank you. Yes. Okay. So we did this, and it was. My theory was that it would be transforming for everybody. I didn't want people to do this because they felt sorry for Jackie. I wanted them to do it because it'd be part of a unique experience. And fortunately for me, my theory proved to be the case because everybody involved said, oh, this was so amazing to be a part of something like that and to all go beyond what we thought our limits were. Because one of the big things was they had to be patient. Because there are people that could easily, seriously, run up and down. One of the guys, Mike Smith, the guy on whose back I was when we touched the sign, he was working in Millinocket. And so he ran in and out every day, seriously, and then did the ascent, the descent, and ran back out. So these people are fantastic. And so the next big adventure was, okay, so what do we do next? And it was, yes.
Sorry, thank you.
Yeah. And so what are we going to do? And so it took a little while. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a question. They didn't know each other, but they had all hiked Katahdin once or twice.
Yes.
What was the mechanism for pulling this together? How did you get it organized, and who organized it?
Fantastic question. And so we've got a couple of videos, and one of the things that we talk about in our last video that we showed, it's the people who did the climb, and they talk about the right stuff. And we had a little questionnaire, and so gear was helpful, but it wasn't essential because we could borrow gear. And being a hiker was helpful, being fit, but the most important thing was the attitude. And so people had to have the right attitude. And so we asked people, would you be okay if people know that you don't even know that you were a part of this? You know, we didn't want people that were doing it because they wanted to become, you know, famous. They had to have the right temperament. They had to be humble. They had to be willing to be incredibly team-oriented. And so if they had a great idea, but people said, that is a great idea, but we really think it would be better if we do it this way, they couldn't get mad and leave. We needed them to be there. And so they had to be really open-minded. And you'll see later, Amy Chartier, who's one of the porters, said, having the posture of a learner. I don't know everything, but we'll learn together. And so we did some training, like every month we did like an hour of training, but there were people that were part of it. Rod, the big guy, he joined a month ahead of time, but he had that great attitude, well, this is going to be amazing, I'm going to be part of this. And so, and we had people who were part of it, because we trained for about more than a year. You know, when I say train, like how are we going to do it, logistics and everything. And so we had people who fell by the wayside. People that said, you know, this is going to be harder than we thought. And so people kind of self-selected.
Did you advertise? How did people hear about it?
It was mostly word of mouth. And so people knew somebody, but if somebody was, like we had this one guy and they said, oh, he's an amazing hiker, but he is really volatile. He really gets angry and yells at people. Like, we don't want this guy. You know? And so the mental part, and I think that's true of hiking in general, you know, 5% is logistics, 5% is your shape, but 90%, 85% is the mental toughness. And so it was that, and they had to be patient because we could only go as fast as our weakest link, and usually, sometimes that was the person carrying me, sometimes it wasn't. I mean, Mike Smith does this all the time. He's an outdoor guy, outdoor sports institute, and so he's always outside. And so when I got on him, he was flying. I mean, he was just going. I'm like, slow down. So it was word of mouth. Now for the hike that we plan to do, we're recruiting, and so and to be perfectly honest, that's one reason why I came here, because I'm hoping that there are people out there who would like to be part of this, because we're going to do the AT next year. And it took a couple of months to figure out to do that. When we came down off Katahdin, people said, are you ever going to do this again? And I said, no. Okay, so done it already and everything, yeah, right. And then that was July, and we made it to the top on July 14th. I will always remember Bastille Day. And so, and it's like, what can we do next? Because it was amazing for us, but it was a small group of people, relatively speaking. And we wanted to involve more people, so it needed to be something longer. And I went to a talk in October of 2015 by a young man who had just through hiked it. And while I was sitting this through hike, I remembered, and I was like, I thought you would forget. But millions of years ago, I was a student at Colby College. And I had gone on the Appalachian Trail for part of the day. And I could still walk a little bit, but really badly. And so I didn't make it through the whole day. And I thought, oh, I gotta go back someday. And that was like 40 years ago. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, that's it. I need to do the Appalachian Trail. And so at first I talked to the guys who were the carriers, and they said, well, you know, we can get to the top of Katahdin, we'll be there for you at the end, but they can't take off, you know, chunks of time. And so we knew, okay, that's what we needed to do, and we needed to figure out a battle plan, is what we call it, you know, the logistics of this. Because it was going to be, it's complicated for anybody. I know there's a bunch of people in here who hike Katahdin and through hikes. And so for anybody, this is not like, it's not probably a good idea to get up one day and say, hey, I'm going on the trail and, you know, I'll see you in 6 months. Probably not a good idea. And for us, there were all these other things. We needed a better carrier, because the one problem with that is it had this one metal plate, and by day 3, I had such a bone bruise on my pelvis, because every step was going into that. So we have a new improvement on that, though. And we needed a wheelchair, a hiking wheelchair. And so we needed to plan this, and so when I went out and talked to people, we needed to let people know we've anticipated a lot of things. And so This was, I had a, and I know you can't really see it, but this is our, we call it the Appalachian Trail Adventure. And so this is the mind map. I had a group of students in the spring. But we have a sense of humor in northern Maine, we call it spring. And so lots of times when people graduate in May, we still have snow on the ground. Okay. So in my spring semester, I had students in an evolving media class. And so, and I didn't even think about, all my classes were project-based. I was working with a graduate class at Clemson University remotely, and the guy there said, "Are you having your students work on this?" And I said, "You think it's okay?" He said, "Yeah." So, pulled my students in. So one of them was kind of my big picture guy, and so, and this is all these different pieces, and so you can see we've got something called home base, which will be the people at University of Maine at Prescott, we call it UMPI. They'll be in the control center, and they'll be managing the data and everything. And then we've got, what else we've got transportation, we've got all the stuff on the trail, we've got equipment, volunteers, and we've got all these different pieces that people planned out. And so they did that. And then one of my students, and probably some of you have done the interactive map thing. And so my same student who did the mind map thing that I just showed you, he's taken bits and pieces of this, and he's kind of putting together an Uber interactive map. But he also is putting together something in paper, because we know that connectivity won't always be an option. So he started talking about, I'm going to put this thing together on paper. And I said, "Oh, a triptych." And he's like, "What?" And so, does anybody know what a triptych is?
Sure.
Okay.
Way.
Yeah,
We're
so
all old
nobody knows
enough.
what triptych anymore. I was like, oh, everything's on my phone until you get out, into the middle of nowhere. And so my students are reinventing the triptych, and so they had this cool idea, and then I had to first look and say, they had that like long ago. And so we're gonna have this, and so we've got this and elevation and the different shelters and everything, and so that we can plan. And listening to a presentation last night, and so even when we did our little hike, and we did a practice hike this summer as well, you plan, you do the best you can, and then stuff happens and you improvise. Okay. So one of the things that another one of my students did is, so we have a website, and the website will be, and I have some posters with me as well if anybody wants to take one. Our website is beyondlimitsawaken.org. And so we have our whole timeline on there. And so the timeline is broken down, and this is as close as it's a guesstimate.
Just previous and now, or like?
Yes, if anybody wants to take one, and if you want to take more and post them any place, be happy to do so. And so, in order to do this, we knew that most people can't take 6 or 7 months to do this. I mean, if somebody can, fantastic. But if they can't, that's okay. And so in terms of planning, we thought, well, but we want people to have time to bond and get the team experience. And so we thought, well, we asked people to do 2 weeks. If they could do 2 weeks, then they have time to get that experience. And if people can do more than 2 weeks, fantastic. And so that's how it's broken down. And so there's leeway in there in terms of, because my student Erin also did it day by day. And I was listening to the folks last night talking about their 30-mile day. We're figuring, some days maybe 15, because again, somebody's really carrying something heavy. But every 2 weeks, we need to be where we say we are going to be, because that's when we would figure to swap out. And so this is kind of, so that's a kind of timeline. And it goes further than that, but we just wanted to do screenshots so you could see that. And then we have on the website, we have team positions. At first we call them job descriptions, and then my students said, "Ooh, but that sounds like we're going to be able to pay people. We don't want to do that. I mean, we want to do that, but we can't do that." And so we call them positions. And so there are a number of them. There's a trail hiker, there's a hospitality hiker, there are trail support coordinators, and then there are trail support volunteers. And so a trail support volunteer can be somebody who's a part of it for an hour. Oh, let me run to the post office for you. Or let me give you a ride in to get a shower, or something like that. The coordinators would be people that we would ask to do it for 2 weeks again, if possible, because they would be the people that would be coordinating, making sure if somebody's coming in by plane or bus, or they have, and we have a database that people can use on their smartphone, so it's kind of easy to manage it. And so they'd be operating out of my van. I have a van that I drive, and we are and then the hikers, and so we have hikers, and then we have hospitality hikers, and my students are like, what's a hospitality hiker? So I'm sexist here. Hospitality hiker, I need at least one lady, because getting off the trail when you can't walk is an adventure. And so I have a little device that I use, and I have a little stool. But the thing I don't have is a third hand. And so I need somebody to balance me, basically. And so that's the, if you go to the website and you see the position descriptions, they've gotten a lot better. Because when my students did them originally, they had the hospitality hikers will attend to Dr. J's every need. And I said, my gosh, it sounds like I have a slave here. And so that's not what happens. Basically, it's the hygiene thing, a few times a day. It's not like, that the person's carrying me and feeding me and coffee breaks in my mouth and stuff like that. It's not that bad, but and they don't stop and think about what this is going to sound like to somebody who doesn't know me. And so I think, guys, when people hear the word paraplegia, they think that you're a giant eater, and this is just going to confound it. So we have that. Then this is we have a volunteer form, and so on our website. And so if people are interested, anybody here during the gathering, if you're interested, please give me your name. But we have this as people give us your email and phone, and then we reach out to people. And so we've got this. Now that was my class. I exploit my students constantly, obviously, and so that was in the spring. This fall I've got 2 classes. I've got a class that's called Professional Communication, which sounds pretty, and then I've got a marketing communication class. So my professional communication class, what they're doing is, over the summer, I did research on schools and universities who have an active outing club. And when I say active, I mean like they go out and they really, or that they have outdoor recreation classes. And so I sent out about 200 emails, individual emails. And my students were like, big deal, so many emails. And I said, no, but you have to really research the people and find out if they have. Because we thought if students could do it to get credit for it, academic credit, then that would be good, and we could work with campuses and universities. And sometimes people say, oh, if only you had $500,000, it's like, wow, you could just hire everybody. But that's not the point. Mm-hmm. The point is that people need to do it because they want to do it and they want to be amazing. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people didn't get back to me. Very few people got back to me. But I mean, it's the summer, and the people that are outdoor people are outdoors. And so what I did was I divided up the emails that I didn't get a reply from, and I divided them among my students. And so my students have this kind of hierarchy of things that they're supposed to do. So they send a follow-up email, because most people, I mean, if you come back and your email is 2 or 3 months old, lots of people aren't going to look at the email. So they send an email, and then if they don't hear in a week, they send a follow-up email. And then if they don't hear, they call, and they have to call till they get somebody. And this is really challenging for my students, because my students are writers. They're not talkers. It's like, oh, I don't know what to say. Like, you can do this. You're going to go beyond limits. And then the goal is to get to a Google Hangout, because face-to-face is much better than an email. So really hard for them. Every time they do something, they fill out one of these forms, and it feeds into a database. And so we can track where people are in terms of their outreach. So we've got this. And then we have, and this is not accurate, our goal. Now people say, are you going to do this? What if you don't raise any money at all? If we raise no money at all, we'll still do it. Because I'd like to be able to provide the tents, food, shelter, and water for everybody. And I'd like to be able to hire one-person hospitality paper, Perfect World, and don't expect somebody to give up 7 months of their life and not pay them anything. But if we don't raise any money, and we're up to $275 now, so we're doing better. We'll do it. I'm applying for a sabbatical. I'll do it. Saint will do it. I think we've got a group from Clemson that will be there at the beginning, and then we'll just get people along the way, because nobody's going to make or break. I don't think would be, oh, you're not going to feed me my rice and beans for 2 weeks. Therefore, I won't go with you. But it'd be nice if we could do that, and we had the tents and everything. So that's our GoFundMe. And then we had a breakdown of what everything would be. Because again, if you say, oh, I want, $80,000, it's like, well, gosh. But then, so we went through all of the different things, breakdown of the food, the technology, and the total. And then what a lot of people don't realize is that if you have a site like GoFundMe, they take a cut of the money, which I think is perfectly reasonable. I mean, they're doing all of this. And so they take about 10%, and then error factor. And so our perfect wall would be $85,000. We have a Facebook page. And my social media guy, now we have Twitter, and we have Snapchat, and we're getting incredible. This is a sample. I don't know why it's in different colors. This is one of my students. This is an email that I forwarded to him. And so it comes through, but this is kind of a sample of the email. And someone said, it's kind of long. And I said, yeah, but it's primarily academics. We read a lot. And then this is my marketing communication class. They're all doing a different niche. And so one of my students is Saint's alter ego. And so Saint has a blog. And so, and that's a picture of Saint when we did Katahdin. And so extreme close-up, and you can see the gray under the chin.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, what's your caloric intake on a daily basis when you're not hiking?
When I'm not hiking, it's probably only a couple of thousand calories. And so I really need to get it up for hiking. Yeah. And one of the things that I learned, and of course, and I'll have to address for Saint as well. And so I learned a lot. We did, I don't know if anybody's, has anybody been to me? Anybody been to me other than Debuli? Are people familiar? Debuli is up in the Great North Woods, and so it's up in the northwest corner of Maine. And so we did practice. And so I had learned a lot from Katahdin about increasing caloric intake and water. Because, again, I know it sounds incredibly stupid, but I'm thinking, well, I'm not hiking, but you're, and some of the ladies I work with, it's kind of funny because they said, oh, you were all these handsome guys. It was so romantic. You're playing at somebody's sweaty back, but you're working because you're moving with them and you're hanging on to them and you're trying to help. And I realized that when I got dehydrated and ill, I wasn't able, and it was just like this dead race. So it was a lot different experience for them. So it's kind of an adjusting thing, but I learned a lot. I did much better when we went to Debuli than when I did Katahdin. Because, and I learned that every time they switch out, I need to drink. So every 10 minutes, even if you don't feel like it. Another thing was that I thought, well, I'm not going to drink that much. Because if I drink, I'm going to have to get down, they're going to have to go to the stool, yada, yada, yada. I know, stupid, but you learn. And I confess these things, and people that are hikers, they say, and people like, it's happened to me. Most people who are hikers have gotten dehydrated at some point. So this is Saint's blog, and so she's got some updates, and because a goal besides equipment developing is education. We want people to be transformed. A lot of people can't do, they can't get the time, they can't get this. Older people, kids, and so ATC is sharing this information with the Trails to Every Classroom people. We want kids to be able to follow along. We'll be blogging all the way along because we really want to send a message that anything is possible. If you say it is, if you look at it, my gift is not this brave little paraplegic. I think my gift is that I look at things in a different way because of that. And so it's seeing opportunity. And so we want children to be following along all the way along with us. So I've been talking a lot about my students, and so Beth, we got another video here. And so these are my students. This is a couple minutes long, and so, but I thought it would be good for you to meet them. So we just click the little arrow, and so, yeah. That's his project, the YouTube channel.
Hi, my name's Garrett. I'm a member of Beyond Limits because I feel a strong connection to the message that your organization is. I believe that everybody has really, really.
Hi, I'm Monica, and I'm involved in Beyond Limits instead of focusing on the negativity in the world, we focus on the positive, and we want everyone else to be involved as well.
Hi, my name is Brandy. I'm a member of Beyond Limits, Awaken Your Potential. I just got involved this fall, but I'm already really immersed in the project. I think it's a great experience for a lot of people, and I want as many people to be a part of it as possible.
Hi, I'm Kelly. I'm a member of Beyond Limits, and I'm a member because I believe. I believe in you, and I believe in me. I think that all of us were born uniquely perfect, and that we all can do amazing things. Sometimes we just need a little support, and that's what Beyond Limits is all about.
Hi, my name is Josh. I'm a member of Beyond Limits, and I became a member, I guess, last year. Dr. J kind of took me under her wing, and she's more than just a teacher to me. She's my friend, and I kind of want to see where this trip goes. So I'm in it to win it, and I can't wait to see what happens next year.
Hi, I'm Melissa Lazat. I'm a member of Beyond Limits. I'm a member because I think that the message of Beyond Limits about going beyond what people think their limits are and overcoming their challenges is a really great thing, because whether we, have physical challenges like Dr. J or other challenges, we all have to face them sometime, and I just think that using the Appalachian Trail and outdoor recreation is a really great way to promote that concept and to really show people what they should accomplish.
Okay, so those are some of my students. There were a couple of people that were not a part of the video. So,
Dr. J, has one of your students reached out to the trail maintainers?
yes.
Because it's
Yes.
already gridded out,
Yes.
and they're a wonderful group of people.
So one of the things that we've done, and so I wanted the trail maintaining clubs to know that we were coming. Because it's, and I've also talked to the chief ranger from Park Service, Todd Inouye. And so, because if you hear that this group of people are going to come, it sounds like it's going to be kind of a circus. And it's easy for people to think that. And so I wanted to talk to people about how vigilant we were going to be, and our goal is to have no more impact than a single mindful individual. So this group has been traced. So I sent emails to all of the trail maintaining clubs and had conversations with some of the people, and it's kind of funny because people are like, well, what do you want us to do? And I said, I really want you to be just aware that we're coming and that we're going to be really respectful. And we don't expect any exceptions to the rules. And with Baxter State, interesting for me because my colleagues have been a little bit, like some of the people involved in Katahdin. The director of Baxter State Park was discouraging a bit, because again, he didn't know us. He didn't know that we had people who hiked, and he said, "Oh, you probably do this kind of thing." And my colleagues were really upset about that. And they said, he's saying no. I said, well, he is saying no, but he can't really say no because he would be breaking the law if he said no. But we need to let people know that we are thoughtful, and we will do this the right way. And so the clubs are very helpful. We're in contact with them. And when I talked to Ranger Todd, it's kind of funny. That's how I met Lori online, because I had reached out to her about talking about having a service dog and anything about permits that we might not automatically know. And so it's always dangerous to reply all, because I was a part of this, and Ranger Todd didn't know that. And so Ranger Todd was saying, look at what she's doing, and da-da-da-da-da, and I'm like, oh, the she is right here, you know. And so I actually wound up having a conversation with Ranger Todd, and Ranger Todd felt like a schmo after this. But I said, no, it's okay, because you're just doing due diligence. You're just trying to do your job and make sure that we're not going to have masses of people on the trail coming out and disrespecting other people's experience of the trail. And so I talked to him on the phone, and I could kind of hear his shoulders kind of, you know, like he started off like this, and then he's like, he's okay. He's like, I wish everybody was as mindful as you. And I said, well, we have to be, because we are going to stand out more than other groups. You know, we'll be a bigger group, a little different from other groups.
How many in your group? Are you
We will never have more than 10. And so, because there are caps lower than Baxter State is 12, and some of the places like I think the Great Smokies parts of it are no more than 10. And so we would like to have, and I count as one of those people, and so ideally we would have 6 Sherpas, and we would have at least one we have to have at least one hospitality hiker every couple. And so we could have, one of the things we learned when we did the bully was that any fit person can do the carrying. And so Amy, my friend Amy, carry. And so it's, because again, it's your legs and your hips. It's not your and she's, you know, a fit person, but she doesn't look like Brunhilde or something. She just looks like a non-hiking person. And so yeah. So I've got one last video. And this looks like a big black hole, but it isn't actually. And so we're going to want to start, we're going to want to turn the lights out. And this is the people who did the Katahdin. And I said, geez, when I go out and I talk to people, it would be really helpful if you guys kind of reflected a little bit on your experience. And so this is about 5-6 minutes, and I'm kind of looking back on it. And it starts and ends with me. And if you notice that my piece is like this incredible up close, because the camera that we were using, we broke the tripod, and so they wouldn't let us use the camera anymore. And so mine is, I'm hugging my laptop, and that's why it looks like it's like looking at my nostrils. It's really awesome. Okay. So, we got to go back. There we are.
Hi, I'm Jackie Lohman, founder and president of Beyond Limits Awakening Potential. Beyond Limits knows that people come into the world with limitless potential. When we're born, there's nothing that we can't do. But way too early in our lives, we start hearing the word can't. When we're kids and we hear it from people in authority, we believe it. And after a while, we internalize it. So we put bars on our insides and clip the wings of our dreams. But the human spirit can transcend anything. Challenge is an opportunity. It's a chance for us to be extraordinary. So a group of us came together in July 2015 and climbed Mount Katahdin. This is the end of the Appalachian Trail. It's the toughest part. Many said it was impossible, but nothing is impossible.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Why do you want to get involved? It's humanity. It's helping people out.
and then it's giving you a sense of self-worth.
You're going to gain a lot more than you put into it. You will come away with perspective and be able to do something outside of your normal world.
It's an emotional high that it's hard to describe. You know, when you can take a grown man and you know, almost put him to tears of just emotions, not of being sore, not of being tired, but of succeeding, of doing something that was never done before.
Beyond Limits would be an experience that would, in all honesty, potentially be very life-changing. It kind of takes you and gives you a perspective on life that you don't always get a chance to. You know, we get wrapped up in our lives and get kind of focused in on our own needs and wants. And a trip like this can take you away from all that and take your perspective away to something bigger than you.
It's physical, it's mental, it's emotional, it's all of those things that bring life together.
So it's really got to be willing and able to work with other people.
Having a feel for the human side of people and the group, you know, thinking of it as a collective and organic unit.
I think you have to be very open-minded, patient, humble person, and you also have to have a really positive attitude. You can kind of roll with the punches and adapt.
Having the posture of a learner is important, that you are going into each day saying, okay, how can we do this better? And I'm not an expert, but I'm going to learn from everybody else and just do anything I can to help.
It's more of mental strength that you need, and a good level, even-tempered type of personality that works well in a group. Because the physical strength is only one aspect. We work together as a team, so it's more of a mental challenge usually when we're doing the mountain climb, for example, than it is a physical challenge.
It's not all about strength or brains. It's a combination of humanity, skills, abilities, and willingness to cooperate, team members, that kind of thing.
The teamwork, the camaraderie, definitely is what I took from that.
Just tangibly admitting that we all need each other was something, a cool perspective that I took away, that we can pretend like we can do everything ourselves, but we really need each other, and everyone does.
Keeping an open mind, not deciding something and closing your mind off to an opportunity.
The opportunity to help someone experience those things that maybe I take for granted, but truly enjoy.
When we started the climb, there was never, it's not going to happen. We can't do this. This is hard. You know, when we said, you know, we're going to step here, we're going to go here, nobody questioned. We just did it.
Yeah, we were helping Jackie get up this mountain, but she was just as much, or the experience was just as much helping everybody else get somewhere new.
What I got from it was an experience of a lifetime. Something that, that I will forever hold.
Everyone involved with our Beyond Limits Katahdin climb was deeply touched by it. We all felt that we had a life-changing opportunity. But with a short climb, we could only involve a handful of people. We needed a long, complex challenge with niches for anyone who wanted to be involved. We'd done the end of the Appalachian Trail. Why not do the whole thing? So that's what we're going to do. From March until October 2017, we'll be through hiking the AT. This is that opportunity to transform your life and be extraordinary. We have openings for hundreds of volunteers, including the perfect spot for you. Please join us and be amazing.
And so this is our website, beyondlimitsawaken.org. And we, as you heard from my student Tom, who's from Beijing, if you like. And so he's a hoot, he's very funny. So I would be happy to answer any questions.
Just another comment. Are you familiar with the support team that Jennifer Farr Davis? We'll call her the professional. She's the fastest woman, fastest through hiker. Forget the woman issue. I think she's got the record for that.
Well, the guy broke it last summer.
Did he?
But
It's
yeah, it
always-
was that, and that was a controversial one where they had this big celebration.
Yes, and the alcohol. And
Yeah, so he broke it only by a couple of hours.
The other thought, she and others are professionals with that support team, so they must have a record of where they put their support people out there in the woods. Then there's another one doing the AT by the RV. They're amateurs, where a person helped their daughter. Books written. Are you going to have RVs and things in the woods at the right places to help? Is someone looking at that?
We've got the, our van, my van will be kind of paralleling along with, because for me, I'll need different clothing and stuff like that, and supplies and everything. And so we need that, we need the trail support people to be like the third leg of the stool. So they'll have the hikers, we'll have my students who are doing it as a class. They'll be kind of coordinating things from up and north in Maine. So, and we, actually, one of my friends at Clemson was reaching out to Jennifer Farr Davis, and we got, I've been reading logging thing. So, between the blogs and then the books and everything, so, good points. Questions?
Will you have any kind of physical criteria? I know you talked about all the important ingredients other than the physical capacity, but to just ensure your safety, will you have any requirements on the physical side for the hiking?
Yes. Well, one of the things that we put down, I think, in the job description, we are asking for people who have hiked. So I've got a friend at school, a colleague, and she said, "You're about going down limits." And I said, "Yeah, but I don't think this is the time for somebody who's never hiked at all to say, okay, I'm going to do 2 weeks on the Appalachian Trail." One of the things that we want to do with people is we want to talk with them. People hang out face to face and just kind of get a feel for people. And so people kind of self-select, I guess is what I'm saying. And so people who don't have the right attitude, can't be careful, and are not able to do it, pretty much don't sign on to do it. And so Rod, the guy with the white T-shirt and the cutoffs, he was probably our biggest person, and so he did okay. It was a little challenging for him, but he did all right. So that's not a really great answer. I guess we don't have any set criteria that you have to be able to. One of the things in the position description says you need to be able to carry 100 pounds for up to 10 minutes, and then we also put an asterisk and say, but a lot of it won't be carrying. A lot of the trail would be assisting in the hiking wheelchair. But we found out, as I said, that even for a lady, that because of the way the weight's distributed, it's not much heavier than a backpack, and so it worked out pretty well. So, great question, not a great answer.
And I saw you had your itinerary, but I stepped on my glasses so I couldn't really read it.
Yeah.
Do you have anyone on your base camp logistical team that has a lot of Appalachian Trail experience to help with that logistical planning, just to set the framework and the timing and all that? Because if you had someone that had hiked the trail, say, at least twice, I think that could really be beneficial, and I bet there are people out there that would be.
Yeah. We don't have anybody who's done it at least twice. We've got input from people who've done it once, but not anybody who's done it multiple times.
Because just doing it once, the conditions are so
Sure,
variable.
absolutely.
That perspectives can be warped.
Yeah. And one of the
rain or depression or injury or you name it.
And one of the things that we know, so what we've got is kind of a guesstimate. This is what we think. But in terms of people swapping in and out, and that's one of the things about being in contact with the people in our home base, they may need to adjust. They need to adjust injury or illness or whatever. One of the things that we did in terms of our planning is we planned an off day every 2 weeks. And so there may be weeks that we store them up, and we may have like 2 or 3 days with somebody ill, and then we don't take. Because as my friends who've done a lot of hiking say, you can put up with a lot for 2 weeks, but 6 or 7 months, you're the people that are going to need the rest days more than the people that are coming. So we laid it out to give people, I think, an idea that it was feasible, because people are like, how are we going to do this, and how are we going to do it with people swapping in and out? And initially people said, well, why don't you just have people coming in and out, like you have people coming in out every day? And I said, that would be a nightmare. You're trying to get people, they would just start to get acclimated, then you have new people. And so people said, well, how about a week? Are we negotiable? Yeah, but I mean, we kind of came up with the 2 weeks as a way to kind of try to make sense of it and make it.
Do you plan on trying to get out to a road crossing where there's a support vehicle at the end of each day, or is there going to be camping as well?
Oh, there's going to be camping.
Okay.
Yeah, and so on the GoFundMe page, it's got a list, and it's got like the tents that we need and everything, because and it's been a big process of learning for me, because initially I thought we would have to have people slack pack for us every day, and so but we're thinking I've learned a lot about what you want versus what you need, kind of thing, and so and weight and everything, and so the goal would be that we would have, so I wouldn't have a pack and a couple of other people, the carrier and one other person, so it's portioning out stuff among people and the tents and everything, and so we will need to meet with people periodically for food, for medicine, for things like that. But we will be camping. And when possible, we think we'll probably want to camp rather than do lean-tos, just because we are the size of the group and getting in and out. So, yeah.
There's already a person who helps hikers. Her name is Janet, Miss Janet.
I was at the thing like that.
You might want to make contact with her, because she already helps people, who are through hiking and can't carry all of their gear, and she'll sometimes slack pack people. That's probably going to be something that would be useful for you.
Do you have the mind map on your website?
I don't think I did, but certainly we can get it on the website, because that's something that he's my student now, and he's the one that gave the mind map, so we could certainly get that out there.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
One other thought, and then I guess we're going to run on to other. What are you doing at Springer down there as far as the approach trail? Has your group, are you walking up the approach trail, or are you going to go up the dirt highway? It makes a difference from day one.
I think the idea is to go up the approach trail.
Okay, it's no problem.
And I've got, again, I feel a little presumptuous doing a presentation, because all of you guys know a lot more about hiking than I do. And sometimes people will say to me, pardon that, why do you have to do this? Or how do you know that you're going to do it? And I guess my thing is, I just know because of that second chance. Yeah.
Sure.
And so I'm, as Amy said, I have a posture of a learner. Any ideas or suggestions people have, I'm very happy to get them. But I know that we will do it. And the mental toughness, when people say, oh, this is getting really hard, and it's probably no harder than having to learn how to talk again.
Thank you.
So you've got a poster, I hope, and if you want, I have business cards for my academic, and so please stay in touch, and if you've got ideas or suggestions, I could use them. Thank you.